thought the fall was pretty productive for us. Number one thing for us was just trying to get all the new guys up to speed with how we operate here, what we expect, what our culture is. So half our team was new guys and half our guys were returners. So what I did see was they did a really good job of getting together and meshing. And so to me, that's really important. So we evaluated a lot this fall. Started to figure out what we think are going to be some roles for guys, but still there's a lot to be determined as we come back in January and get ready for the season. So be happy to answer any questions.
Mark, could you just kind of go down the injury report for guys who might have a long-term thing and might miss the season?
At this point, Logan Chapman will miss the season. Graham Lawson will miss the season, and Julian Bosnick will miss the season. So those are the three guys at this point that we know going into the spring will not be available. Past that, everybody else should be good to go. Correct. Yeah, Julian had missed his senior season pitching. We knew it was a little bit of a risk bringing him in early, but we knew the long-term gains by bringing him in, even if he did have to have that surgery this year, would pay benefits down the road.
What did you see out of Carmen this fall, and I guess how does he coming along with that new pitch that he's kind of worked in?
Yeah, he's done a really nice job. He's gotten better. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's more physical. I think because of that, all of his stuff has taken an uptick. The fastball's a little better, the control's a little bit better. He's throwing a cutter. A lot of good pitches now that he can use as weapons, and I think his command was better this fall as well. So he's a guy that has definitely taken that next step and will be a very key pitcher for us on weekends.
You said you think you have a pretty good grasp on what you saw in the fall. Did you learn as much as you thought you would about these guys? You have more questions than you thought you would after going through all 6 weekends? Yeah,
kind of all of the above. We did learn a lot about our guys, but I wouldn't say that today we're prepared to say, here's our starting 9 guys, here's our weekend rotation, here's our setup man, here's our closer. We learned that we have a lot of guys that can get the job done. Now it's just a matter of when they come back in the spring, making final decisions on who's your shortstop, or is it going to be a platoon? What's your batting order? How do you work your pitchers into the rotation? Who's better off in the bullpen compared to starting? We still have to figure out those things, but we have a much better grasp on the abilities of our guys than we did 2 months ago.
Yeah, going off of that, you said halfway through the fall that you kind of have this logjam of pitchers who can all do 3 or 4 effective innings. Did you get any more clarification on there? Were there any guys that particularly impressed you throughout this fall?
I mean, a lot of guys impressed me offensively and pitching-wise, but I wouldn't say our pitching is any more. We don't have any more clarity on how we will use our pitchers. We're going to do a lot of studying on what's being done in the big leagues these days, just like we did last year. You saw probably more defensive shifting, which was maybe a little bit following what's going on in the big leagues. We're going to study all winter how big league teams are using pitchers as well in terms of how many times through the order. You've heard the term opener. I don't know that we'll go to that yet, but everything will be on the table. You have to try to play your cards the best you can to give yourself the best chance to win, and so that's what we're going to do. There's a traditional model of starters that give you 6 innings, then you hand it off to a closer or to a setup man and a closer. We may or may not be able to follow that traditional model. What we're going to do is try to figure out the best way to use what we have to win the most games we can. So a lot of that will be studying what the latest trends are, what the latest strategies are based on what you have and based on what the statistics say in terms of times through the order, left-right matchups, all that stuff. We'll study all that all winter, marry that with our personnel, and come up with the best strategy.
Kind of following up on that, is that sort of a sign that of the depth you have and that maybe you feel like you got some strength in the bullpen?
Yeah, we feel very, very good about our bullpen. So it's just a matter of picking guys out of those roles and deciding who has the best chance to give you a little bit of length as a starter. So we've got a lot of guys that are in that 89 to 93 range with good control and a good secondary pitch. It's just a matter of figuring out who's ready, who's the most mature, who can handle going through the lineup multiple times. All that is still to be determined.
Olson was getting some reps at third base throughout the start of fall. Is that something you still feel comfortable with going into the season?
He's still an option there, absolutely. He's an option there. A number of other guys are still options there as well. Opening night, if you put a gun to my head and yes, is he going to be in right field or is he going to be at third base, I'd say it's 50-50 at this point.
Andrew Eister kind of came in with some flair, I guess, and some hype to him. Just what did you see out of him in the fall, and I guess some of the other JUCO guys, and Nick Neville and George Khalil? What did you see out of them?
Yeah, they all had ups and downs as we expected. And you make the jump from the junior college level, they all did very well there to the SEC level. It's a jump. It's like going from in the minor leagues, you go from one level to the next. Anytime you move up a level, there's going to be some challenges. But we saw some good things out of all of them. We saw flashes of what they can be. Now it's up to us to help them be consistent at that highest level. And try to eliminate and minimize those downtimes. We saw some things that they need to work on, and they all have things that they need to improve in their game, but they did make progress throughout the fall. So I think come February, they'll be in a pretty good spot to help us.
Yeah, on the catcher position, how do you feel coming out of the fall? How far behind is Wes Clark from missing so much time? Does Chris play some first base perhaps? Just what do you kind of see out of those three guys, Barry Hill included?
I think we have three catchers that are capable. Chris obviously has the most experience at this level, so he'll be given every opportunity to try to win that job come the spring. But Barry Hill had a very strong fall, especially offensively. He led our team in homers. He has good speed on the bases. He ran a 6.7 on scout day. He's a big, strong kid that gives you good at-bats and can hit a home run at any time. And his defense developed, not to the point where we want it, but developed and got better over the course of the fall. He blocked better. He caught better at the end. He actually threw out our most guys from behind the plate. So he's definitely a very viable candidate back there. Wes Clark is a work in progress. Defensively especially. He's a kid that has some power, but just needs to do better in all parts of the game as a catcher. Needs to throw better in terms of consistency, has good arm strength, needs to really get better receiving the ball, and then blocking needs to really get up to speed. So I would say at this point, Cullen and Barry Hill are the top two candidates, and Clark is providing depth, but hopefully hope for the future.
What did you see out of TJ this fall? Not only his performance on the field, but maybe his leadership. Just how did he develop and progress?
Very well on and off the field. We all know what kind of player he is. He's got elite speed. He's got elite power. We just need to keep him on the field. And what we did this fall is try to get him just enough work to stay sharp and continue his progress, but not so much that you had to worry about him tweaking something or having a setback. So with him, that's what we did. And he had a very strong fall on the field. But he also got rave reviews from his teammates, both returning players and the new guys, with how he is in the locker room and how he's trying to be a leader, especially by example. But he's also at times took guys aside one-on-one and said, here's what we need to do, or here's what coach is talking about. And just gotten rave reviews from our players about all of those upperclassmen in terms of what they're doing for the culture of the locker room and our team. So that's something that's been very pleasing to me, and TJ's been one of the big guys in that.
Last season, you referred to Noah as the kind of player you build your program around. I don't want you to put any undue pressure on any freshmen, but do you kind of see any players in that mold going in this class?
Freshmen, I would say the guys that they're going to have a chance to play right away. Brady Allen's the first guy that comes to mind. I think of all our incoming freshman hitters, he had the best fall. Josiah Seitler has tremendous amount of potential, but still needs to be polished as a player offensively and defensively. But as he continues to learn the game at this level, I think he has a bright future. Pitching-wise, I'd say Sweat and Harley were the two freshmen that kind of got the most people's attention, especially their teammates. Those guys are going to have a chance to pitch a lot this year for us, get great stuff, mature kids, and know how to win. So I would say just in terms of who comes to my mind quickest, those are the guys of the freshmen that have made the biggest impression.
How are Sawyer and Ridge progressing? Have you watched them throw yet, and how do you kind of foresee them health-wise going into this?
Yeah, I think by the time the season comes around, they'll be 100%. They both feel really good right now. They've played catch. They're right on schedule, and I think they both feel like next year, next season, they should be in a much better place than they were last year, because they both kind of gutted through some times last year. I think they're both hoping, and we're hoping that they'll be 100% healthy so that they can be even better than they were last year, and I think they will be.
How about Noah? Is he your second baseman, and what did you see from his all-around game in the fall?
Yeah, if we had a game tonight, Noah would be our second baseman. His progress has been very impressive. He had a solid freshman year. He went to the Cape and had a great summer. Could have been named the MVP of the Cape Cod League, so had a tremendous summer, continued to develop offensively and defensively, and he picked right up where he left off this fall. Had a great fall for us. Another kid that's a great leader for us, a great example of what we want our players to be. So I expect him to be borderline All-American this year. I really do. His defense has come a long way, and I think he's one of the better hitters in America. The big decision for him, for me and our staff will be, how do we use him offensively? Is he a leadoff catalyst? Is he a two-hole guy? You could put him in a three-hole because I think he'll hit in that 350 range, and we'll be able to drive in a bunch of runs as a line drive hitter. A lot of things are still on the table with how we use him, and a lot of that will be determined with how we use the other guys. Where do we use TJ? Do we like TJ in the leadoff spot, or we like him in the three-hole? A lot of things to be determined still with that lineup, but Noah's going to be a big part of our success.
Mark, obviously the program speaks for itself, but what can it do to have a couple of guys like Jackie and Steve Pierce have the World Series that they had and be very, demonstrative about how their South Carolina guys during it?
Yeah, to me that just speaks to our program. Guys are very proud to be part of this program. Past guys, future guys, current guys. Once you become a Gamecock, you're just very proud of that fact, and seeing those guys do their post-game interviews and talk about being Gamecocks, to me that's special. And what all the former coaches did here to build that, what the players that have played here and had great careers here but now go on to professional baseball and make names for themselves, to me that's special stuff. It's up to us now to make sure we continue to promote that to the next generation of recruits, to show them what can be done when you come through our program. To me it all builds on itself, but Gamecock baseball family and recruits and current players and future players, it all kind of ties together, and that's really important.
Yeah, going off of that, how much does that help on the recruiting trail, and are there any plans to kind of have Jackie or Steve come back in the upcoming season?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have those guys back. Texted back and forth with Jackie the other night, and he said you'll see us soon, so that's great to hear. They're big parts of what we're all about. So our alumni, our former baseball players know that they're always welcome back with open arms. I've tried to make that known from the day I got the job. Whether it's Jackie or whether it's guys that are working in banking right now, it doesn't matter. We always want our players coming back, feeling a part of the program, being a part of that baseball family. But we'll do as much as we can to use the recent success of those guys to help get guys excited about our program. There's no question. Every recruiting call we've had recently, that's one of the first things that it's talked about, just because that's an exciting time for those guys, exciting time for our program.
You touched on this a little bit, but I was going to ask you, how much interaction have you had with Jackie? Have you met him or Steve, either one?
Yeah, Jackie was here last fall and has talked to our team and have spent some time with him. And actually this summer I was asked to come do the Tomahawk Chop for the Braves, and it was the day they were playing the Red Sox. It was South Carolina Day, and we played a bunch of phone tag and text, and we were trying to get to meet before the game. And right as I was going to meet them in the dugout, I had to go up to right field to go do the chop. So we didn't quite catch up then, but they'll be here quite a bit, I think, in the off season, and we'll get to spend plenty more time.
Any more questions?
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.